Broadmoor, 1972. This minute portion of God's beautiful America is given to the Massachusetts Audubon Society in memory of 4 generations of the Stillman family who lived here and loved it.
Okay, we're here at Broadmoor, and you're an intern, right?
Yeah, my name is Steve Alquist, and I'm going to be a sophomore at the University of Maine at Farmington.
Okay, and so we're wondering about the history of Broadmoor.
Basically, Broadmoor used to be a farm. It was farmland, and it was donated by 2 donors. And Broadmoor got its name from one of the donors who, this used to be all fields actually, and it reminded her of the moors of England. So that's where they got the name Broadmoor.
And so what kind of keystone species are here?
Typically, this land's been and used for long time, so it doesn't fit the exact biological trophic levels. But if you're going to say there's keystone species, there's a few coyotes that have been coming in. Fish cats would probably be the big 2.
Any other important species that we should look for?
There's immigration of bobolinks, which is a bird they're trying to attract with a new field project. I think it's a blue-spotted salamander, I believe is the name. It's one of the species of concern in Massachusetts, which is here. Basically, the main idea is to attract many bird species. So there's a bunch of different important species.
And then are there any threats to this particular ecosystem? Or?
The biggest 2 threats would probably be invasive species, like, let's see, there would be buckthorn, bittersweet, and garlic mustard, or the other one would be outside the territory, outside the sanctuary would be development. Yes, would be a big one.
All right, well, thank you very much.
No problem.
This is lichen here, so this is primary succession. And so it starts out with bare rock, and then the lichen can grow on the rock. It's a symbiotic relationship between fungi and an alga. And that grows on the rock, and it can actually digest like the rock. And then the moss can then get the moss, which is a bryophyte, which is growing the green stuff here, that has enough nutrients to grow. And that starts to make some just beginnings of soil, and that soil is good enough for other plants to start growing, like around over there. That's what's starting to happen over here. And eventually even a tree can grow, and that's the first thing. We get these trees. This is a red oak, and so that's the biggest. We get the full ecosystem after that. From the rock, we've got enough soil to get this full tree. Now, there's a lot of organic material around here that just falls down, the leaves, the twigs, and that all needs to become soil, and this needs to decompose. So, slowly, we're going to dig in here. There's tons of bugs, centipedes, millipedes, even fungus. Takes this, decomposes this down. A lot of earthworms soften this. There's wood lice, which I see right here, which are also called pill bugs. And if you dig in, it's softened by fungus. Fungus and earthworms are incredibly important to soften this. There are actually like millions of earthworms per acre. And those are critically important. And this slowly becomes soil. I'm going to keep digging deep into this. And the soil there's about 2 billion bacteria in just like teaspoons of soil. There's tons. There's lots of tiny bugs, tons of animals. The soil, of all layers of Earth, the soil is the one with the most life. Tons of life in the soil. And so this is slowly decomposing more. The pine needles, everything decomposes. And that's where all the nutrients in this whole ecosystem come from, the soil. This is really important, the leaf litter. Things eat these animals too. Birds will prick through the leaf litters, like thrashers, other birds. And so this is slowly becoming soil the more I dig down into it. And this was all leaf litter. Animals like this little bug here just eat this stuff up. And now it's pretty rich soil here. A lot of it's very wet. But a lot of these like well-drained soils, they don't want too wet soils like near the wetlands. There's just tons of stuff here. And as I dig down, there's lots of roots taking nutrients up that the decomposers are bringing down. So this is the most important part of the ecosystem right here, the soil. So all this stuff here, to go deep. That's all over here. This is where it all happens, right here.
Here you see deciduous forest, and then the conifers. You know, New England is the only place where the coniferous trees, the gymnosperms, meet the deciduous trees. And so whereas up in Canada we have more of the gymnosperms, and down south more, they have more of the deciduous forms. Also notice the sounds around here. We got dirty looks from some people back there. They were just sitting, listening to the sounds. We, of course, were taping, but just listen for a second.
So the bigger trees here, the taller ones, where there's not a lot of foliage on the lower part, these big trunks here, these are the conifers. So these are white pine. And they pretty much go up here. They block a lot of the sunlight, but they do. That's just why it's sort of clear down here. There's not as much thick foliage. It's not as thick, which is why the lower area here, the ground level, has a lot more plants. You can see some pteridophytes over there, the fern. We've got more deciduous trees. There are deciduous trees like interspersed around here, but this area is mostly coniferous. You see those right behind me, it's growing, and they can't really have enough space for the light to grow because the conifers block off a lot of the light, which is why its waiting here is still kind of short. And if one of these conifers dies, or a bunch of them die, then this one will grow up and it'll become a more deciduous forest. And the deciduous forest is sort of just waiting here until it can take over.
The trophic levels are very apparent in the forest. First we have obviously the primary producers. Those are the plants, you know, from the tall plants to the small plants, producing food through photosynthesis, etc., which makes food for the primary consumers. Primary consumers, they are insects, they are...
Also even mammals like the deer and
right.
others. So even some rodents are primary consumers. They'll eat herbivores.
Absolutely, and then we have the secondary consumers, which would be smaller animals, but those will eat the primary ones.
So we've got some carnivorous insects like beetles, even ladybugs. Even centipedes will eat millipedes. And we'll also have larger rodents will eat the insects too.
Right. And then, finally, we have tertiary consumers such as the hawk, the fox, and other like animals, the owl.
Owl hunts by night, and the hawk mainly controls the day, and the owl controls the night.
And those eat the secondary consumers.
And also another important thing to add is the decomposers. When the things die, and when organic material is no longer living, things will decompose it. Fungi, bacteria, smaller insects will eat it like springtails inside the soil. And also even vultures will eat larger dead prey.
And they recycle the resources for the primary producers.
Just recycling of nutrients so that the primary producers will still need those nutrients, and they can use those nutrients which go to the soil. So these are red maples, and you can tell the red maples have this reddish tint on the stem. And so you tell a red maple mainly from a sugar maple, which has bigger leaves. And the red maple are more common and more natural. And in the deep